Greetings, dear friends. Welcome to our group circle meditation for the common good. We meet today under the energies of Taurus new moon, which occurred 2 days ago. And today we bring the fruits of our reflections for the last 2 weeks since the full moon, holding in the focus the topic, sharing the gift of light, standing together in silent receptivity. This topic was selected in alignment with the theme that we hold under the energies of each fixed sign of a fixed cross, manifesting the principle of sharing in all fields of human activities. And today we will continue our reflection, bringing into the group chalice seeds that we will magnetize and radiate into the stream of human thought, thus assisting humanity in its evolutionary path. So let us continue our work. And as always, we start with sounding the statement of purpose.
Our purpose is to magnetize the ideas of common good, freedom, and brotherhood as the highest values of humanity at this time. We recognize and cherish diversity of perspectives in our group, creating a space capable of invoking, receiving, interpreting, and radiating a higher synthetic vision. We serve as an Asramic outpost, building a group bridge of Buddhic energy. We evoke the soul of humanity. We envision humanity as being the seed that is flowering. We prepare the way for the reappearance of the coming one. Over to you, Tracy.
Thank you, Birgit. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. As we begin our focus today in this new moon meditation, the naming circle unites our hearts across distance as we will begin our alignment and bring ourselves fully into our group work through this naming circle. By uniting our hearts in this way, we begin naturally to work telepathically through our group mind. The key to this telepathic work is in the etheric alignment, which creates the group field and allows it to become both a receiving and transmitting agent for higher ideas and energies. We will begin by calling our names into the circle, starting with our organizers. And as your name is called, please unmute yourself, say your name and where you are calling in from. For example, Tracy Arbor, and I'm calling in from Novi, Michigan, USA. As we go through this, let us turn our attention to our hearts and the heart center of the group gathered today, as each one of us calls ourselves into this circle. Alexander.
Hello again. My name is Alexander Ilchuk, and I'm connecting from Brooklyn, New York, in the United States.
Welcome. Brigitte.
Greetings. I'm Birgitte Rasmussen, calling in from Denmark.
Welcome. Andrea.
Hi, everyone. This is Andrea Russ, and I am calling in from New York City today in the United States.
And welcome. Jillian.
Hello, everyone. I'm Gillian Douglas, and I'm in Heacham, Norfolk, UK.
Welcome. Helen.
Hello, Helen Franklin. I'm also calling in from the United Kingdom, a bit nearer to London.
Welcome. Judy.
Hello, this is Judy calling in from Brewster, Massachusetts, USA.
Welcome. Catherine.
Aloha, this is Catherine Heller calling in from Pahoa, Hawaii.
Welcome. Kiki.
Hello, this is Kiki Bill calling in from Washington, D.C., USA. Thank you.
Welcome. Rebecca.
Hello, this is Rebecca calling in from the Sunshine Coast on the east coast of Australia.
Welcome. Thank you, everyone. Now that we are linked together as a group, let us share a few moments in silence to align, forming a triangle between Shambhala, the hierarchy, and humanity. May our efforts be of the highest vibration in selfless service for our purpose. Over to you, Alexander.
Thank you, Tracy. As we hold in our focus, let us recollect the questions that we've been holding in our group chalice since the time of the Aries festival. As the era of the Forerunner comes to the end, what is the next step for the new group of world servers? What are the most important functions of this global group at this time? How can disciples of the world use the opportunity of the Shambalic impulse in service to humanity? Quote from Discipleship in the New Age, Volume 1. The disciples of the world, and not the mass of men, who today hinder the coming of the Avatar and render useless his intention. He dare not come until the disciples and aspirants in the world bring about the needed changes in themselves, for the reason that there would not be enough of the will to love with the fiery essence. What are the needed changes that we should bring forth in ourselves in order to allow the plan to manifest? And when we're ready, we can open our space for sharing.
Well, I'll start. This is Kathy in Hawaii. It's been a lifetime of preparing and practicing, of becoming as best as I could to the values of purity and the will to love, the will to serve that I could. The time for practice is over, but let's say the time is now. And that is quite a change. The time is now. This is the time for being impeccably, deeply present in the now, in a position of the will to love, being a conduit for the frequency of love wisdom to hopefully drench the earth and be available to every sentient being. So now is the time, and now is the moment, and the next now is the moment. Thank you.
Yeah, I got very similar to what Kathy just said, that we need to be the conduit of love. And that's probably the most important thing for us as world servers at this time is to be a channel for that love. That means that we use the Shambalic forces of will for also using it within ourselves, using it for the will to love. I agree the time for practicing is coming to an end, and it's a matter of time of being and allowing that love to be able to flow through us. Sharing the gift of light and love, it's standing together, being silent, but just allowing that to flow through. I think question one, you know, what's the most important function of the group at this time? And I think accepting ourselves for who we are, healing ourselves, releasing that which no longer serves the light or the love anymore, for transmutation. Because again, it comes right down to the bottom line, which is just being a conduit for love. And I think once we do that, question three, the disciples, again, because we're working as groups instead of individuals, a group of beings as we are, once we can open to that will to love, it opens, it's kind of like opening an artery, you know, that was clogged or blocked. So I think that answers that for me also, that question. Thank you.
When I look at the first question, which asks, what is the next step for the new group of world servers? It's something that I've been pondering quite a bit. And I think we are now at a time where we're no longer souls looking for our group, but we need to basically see ourselves as group soul, which is a very different place to stand. It is truly embracing the oneness that we know that there is and acting as one. And so in that acting, building the Antakarana as a group versus being a personality building the Antakarana is an important aspect so that the Shambalic force can truly come through. And when I look at the quote, it's not just living with love, but enough love with fiery essence. And when you think about fire essence, or when I think about it, it is that first ray behind the will to love that really brings forth a new dedication, if you will, a new understanding of ray 2 and ray 1 fusing together and being able to stand in that, so that one's whole purpose is to be the group container to support the group, which is humanity, to support the group, which is the triad, if you will, to support Sunat Kumara moving through his initiation. It's understanding that there is a wider purpose, which is based on love. So it's love at every aspect, and it's seeing ourselves for the greater wholeness that we are.
I could jump into that. I travel quite a bit, and I find myself in spaces where there are multinational, enormous diversity, just places where there's a lot of our group, our soul group, which is humanity. And I often find myself in those places actively bringing through the will to love. And that's, I think, the part that for me is the ponder of how can I most actively do that. And I walk into the world smiling, being kind, speaking to others who I do not know, but reaching to them as I would a friend in a situation where I am beside someone or with people. It becomes this active, purposeful place to shine that light. And oftentimes, that is what I will actually do in the silence of distributing and radiating light, is to bring it into my conscious awareness, all that I know and all that I am and all that I most powerfully can share with the group soul. And I think there is so much that happens energetically that we aren't necessarily aware of. I often sort of in exhaustion go, why am I here? Why can't I just go home and sit still? And I know that that answer is that I am exactly where I am supposed to be in that moment. And recognizing that and recognizing where I am and who is around me and how I am radiating and distributing something that I hold, that we all hold, that can make an enormous difference without any evidence or awareness, either from me or from those that I am passing in my journey of life. Just exchanging energy, just exchanging energy. And I think that's a really important thing, is to bring the awareness of all we are and all we know and all that we have become out into the world in very sort of demonstrative ways. And again, smiling is an extraordinary, powerful thing to do. And I think that is a way to bring that will to love, and that will, because you are actively leading within love in the population of our brothers and sisters of our soul group. So I think that's helps me to feel that I am actually doing something with that idea.
An impression that came to me as we were starting our sharing in response to the first question about the function of the world group. One of the functions that I recognize is to hold the focus of moral authority. I think at this time it's especially this need is especially palpable as the international institutions that's been created after the World War are crumbling, and where the that high focus of ideals being put into international treaties and being held as a guiding principle is not as supported as it's been till now. And not that the world was rosy for the last 70, 80 years, but at least it was held as an ideal that's against which all the decisions were what is the word, transposed, or like aligned towards which. So now there's a sense that it's the role become more and more the role of the world group. And when I say the world group, I mean the whole entirety of the world group, all those individuals in various fields of human endeavors, those who hold the recognition of what is right in terms of moral values, that collectively this group can hold that focus for humanity as a beacon. And in a way, if we think about it, it's that it's the role of the world group to be the beacon that shines, that shows the direction for humanity as we move from the age of Pisces to age of Aquarius. So it's not just this leaders in political leaders in countries that hold that focus, as it's been throughout the ages, where kings were considered to be messengers of God, who hold this point of moral authority for its people. Now it's this collective group focus that can create that orientation for humanity. And in terms of the second question, one of the main impressions of this last few weeks for me is that the energy of will, one of the aspects of the energy of will, how it expresses itself for disciples, is the quality of determination. This silent determination that focuses our will, and that allows us to hold our intention. That's an important aspect that we can call to activate right now, and what is needed for us to hold that silent, focused determination.
I so agree, Alexander. It's I'll come back.
Yeah, I think when you were talking about the moral aspect, that is the reflection. True morality is maybe as I can see it, as a reflection of truth, beauty, and goodness, which is what we should be expressing at this time, or part of that moral expression.
I think I'll address this last bit. What are the needed changes that we should bring forth in ourselves? I, too, am very conscious of group energy now, and I know that when it's talking about ourselves, it is talking about the whole group. But I have also noticed in myself lots of revelations about myself that need changing, that should be quite hard to face up to. I don't think I got anything particularly evil in my background, but they're just thoughts and attitudes towards people, towards hearing the news on the radio or the television, just watching what my thoughts do, and they are not always as clear and loving as they could be. And it's very easy not to take into notice or just dismiss them and say, well, oh, I don't know, but I seem to have been forced to look at these small points and change my attitude so that always you're looking through the lens of love. It doesn't mean you or I have to approve of everything I'm looking at, but just that clarity and that lovingness behind the looking and the seeing. And I've seen things in my childhood, in my teenage years, and thought, oh, that perhaps wasn't the kindest thing to be doing. And how is that affecting me now in the way I think and react and respond? So I found in this really just the recent past a lot of self-revelation and the need to change it, to always radiating this loving energy, no matter what. So, thank you.
I agree with that, Helen. And I guess it is the first ray coming in that is showing an aspect of truth that, or perhaps it is because we are getting more aligned with the group energy that I've also experienced the same thing. Another thing is that in the world today, there is a shift, not for the better, in the way that countries are treating each other, and in the war around the world, it is being more rough and not taking attention to hospitals and the people that are trying to save people, and it is not nice to see. And I guess it is this first ray that is creating on the one side this war and inflammation in people that create these wars, and also showing the whole world that this shift in the consciousness of humanity, I guess you could say, needs a checkup. We need to address it because there are countries that are no longer respecting the law and respecting international rules and respecting countries' borders and rules. And we need to address this as a humanity and stress the human rights for everybody, and if needs to make new rules and a new commitment of international rules that everybody can agree on. And I think that this is the aspect of the first ray that is creating this new shift from the personalities view, and also from the soul's view, from the humanity's soul, so that we see this is not good. We have to do something about it. And what we need to do is to strengthen the love energy, to match this will energy that is coming from Shambhala. Thank you.
Annette, I agree that the world situation seems to be giving us an enormous present to start putting all these things into action. And I think Alexander's the quality of determination and holding moral authority, and to bring into international treaties is vital. I mean, we will get nowhere without talking to each other, and ultimately forgiveness. No treaty can be made without people talking and listening. Actually, listening is almost more important than talking, because you can talk and talk, and if the other isn't listening, you're going to go nowhere. But it seems at the minute to be such hope. Every once in a while, you'll read someone's words. I mean, every week now, someone will have written something that was stellar and it was moving and stirring in the heart, that this is what it's all about. Yes. And so it's there. And if we keep the determination, hold moral authority, absolutely, because there's a lot of standing up to that at the minute that has to be done, and love. Just keep working from the heart and being strong. Thank you.
As I listen, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Just as I listen to all of this, it keeps making me just reflect back that, for 2 weeks, I spent a lot of time in the middle of a great big sandbox, in the middle of a great big park, in the middle of Paris, where I speak very little French, some. And it was an extraordinary place to be, with many, many, many children. The diversity is extraordinarily beautiful. And they don't speak English. But when I sat in the middle of that playground in that sandbox and was making sandcastles and letting everybody step on them, it was incredible what happens. And it just makes me, again, reflect on the beauty that you witness in children who have no idea who each other are, but play with each other and interact with each other. And there's just this purity that gets changed. And I don't know how you do that without, again, like what you're all talking about, that moral recognition that we are all in this together, and that what you teach your children, it impacts the world and impacts the next generation. It would be so different if we let children continue to be the open-hearted child that is so beautifully witnessed. It makes my heart squeeze with sadness, because the changing of that happens and there's no return to that. in many cases. It's that what I started out with. Everybody's friends. We're all in this together, and we're all playing together on the same field. And there is just, again, that open-heartedness that you witness in children on a playground, that they're completely blind to anything except that there's somebody playing with them. And that is love.
Yeah, from what everybody's been saying, the last few shared insights, it came to me that, you know, it's amazing. The last 4 years have been actually both a gift and a curse to humanity, but more of a gift. Because all over the world now, we all shared the same type of experience through COVID, whatever. We were all in this together. And because of that, I do think that it stimulated the heart chakra. Would be interesting to see what heart math says about how, you know, the frequency of heart, if it was coming together or going. But it not only stimulated the heart for compassion, because we all went through that dark night of the soul, so to speak, together, between the COVID, between the war, the Ukraine war, all that, everything, things that we really know we don't want as humanity. And just moving to from the emotion into the mental capacity to observe now, to look back at those 4 years, to reflect, to see, and before we can move forward, to reflect and observe in a mental capacity as opposed to an emotional capacity. That is huge. That's a huge leap for humanity. And the morality and common sense versus the chaos and the unreal that has been going on, the discernment that's been going on. Again, another heart chakra quality. But the first ray of Shambhala is helping us to clear out. I think, you know, it's a destruction of the old to allow the new to come in. And I think we're seeing a big change in the world now. I mean, I always tell my husband, I think we're living through biblical times right now. You can actually see, you know, what had happened the last 4 years and the chaos and the craziness. And now, you know, you can see the light a little bit. So, yeah, I just think it's very interesting that I do believe, again, humanity's going through its first initiation, again, together as one. So we all had the same experience. COVID, the war, everything became global, transparent, that kind of thing. So I think this is all a good thing. Thank you.
Yes, there have been lovely comments today, which I totally agree with. And I think we can go about spreading the will to good in our daily lives, as we know. I mean, about 2 decades ago, I hadn't even heard of esotericism, really. And I lived in a village where it was quite an upper village. There was quite a few wealthy people lived there, and everyone was out at work. And I'd be walking the dogs, and there'd be no one saying hello or anything like that. You'd just walk and go home again. And now I've lived twice now in a village by the sea, and the difference is quite pronounced because you get more elderly people living by the sea. They retire to the sea. It's a lot of people's wish that they can do that. And you walk around and you get spoken to and you can have conversations with the odd people, and it's quite a different thing. So I think all we can do is have an open face and look ready to be pleasant and talk to people. And we can learn to use our will to create harmony, because we definitely need some, because the people who are at the present causing a lot of friction in the world, prominent people that is, they are making themselves unpopular, and I think they're heading for a fall because they can't see where else they can go. So we have much to hope for. Thank you.
I'd like to bring up the point of moral authority and also to link it in with what everyone else is saying. I think certainly we see how important it is to be able to stand on soul love and what that means in its widest sense with how we treat each other, how we look at the group as opposed to individuals, how we move from materialism to more of a sense of spiritual values. And I think we have to do it on every level, including looking at groups that basically are coming up with what I would call a a a way of being in the world that shows moral authority. And as esotericists, I think we can take the whole world group behind us in our meditation and continue to put light there. I think our focus is to support the light with more light. And we have to stand up against what does not have moral authority, but not by hating it, but by working to bring about its opposite. I think the idea of transmutation, the idea of where to put energy, we have to live it day to day when we see our neighbors, but we have to live it as a world group too, and use our capacity as disciples and initiates to bring the light to those corners, because it really takes that level of stimulation and that level of determination, our determination to see this as a primary important work right now. That's the change of the age, and the new group of world servers is now a unified whole, and it's unified so that hierarchy can work through us, and we work through our openness and our togetherness to be one. So I guess I'm seeing that we're needed to work not on just on every level, in every capacity that we have. And I think, Helen, you're right. All of a sudden, when you're part of a group, you see yourself maybe making, I see myself as, looking at something, and then it instantly, I'll know that I have to shape shift it. It doesn't even take thinking anymore, because you realize the old ways that I've been raised as a child, and and it comes out, and you realize that you have to clear it within yourself. And it's because we're part of this group and this group process that is holding us to the fire so that we can bring that through. So I appreciate everything that everybody said, and also how we can work as a group and yet work individually from wherever we are and whatever resonates in terms of what we need to bring forth. Because those values have to basically seed the new world. Even when I think of the United Nations, I think of what has to shift is that there has to be a living charter. And by that, it's not the words of what we aspire and hope to do, but rather what we stand on in terms of our moral authority that is important to happen in the world. There has to be that new shift, that it becomes a livingness as opposed to a weak aspiration. Thank you.
I very resonate with this, how to make, not how you say, to bring livingness in our aspiration. It's as I reflected on the third question about the changes needed, some time ago I had this recognition that certain things that I wanted in my life, that I intended for my life, in one way or another, they all came true. And I think all of us, each of us individually on our own place, we have that experience that what we really want, it comes true. And we don't really even need to think about that much, but if like we fixed our intention, that sooner or later it comes. And so my recognition was, why don't I use the same determination of this that's I once placed into my personal this intentions, the same determination to put into this work of service, this, I forgot the word, unbendable, or what is the word, that determination that's expressed in the words, I have no other life intention. It's this phrase from the Thursday meditation for the reappearance of the Christ. I have no other life intention. And so I think for us as disciples, that's a key in terms of putting the enough of the will to love with the fiery essence, as it's in this quote. The fiery essence, the living essence into our intention. And yet another thing that is there, it's not just about determination of wishing that Christ come back, but to have a clarity of thought. Because when we wish for something for ourselves, we're very clear in our thought. And that's probably the reason things working out, the magic works out. The same with this focused group thought. We just need to have a very clear mind of what exactly we want and put all our intention, all our life essence into making that come true. And it's interesting that we reflecting on this under the energy of Taurus, and Taurus, it's all about this transmutation of desire into fixed intention, and transmutation of desires into that higher fiery aspiration.
I so resonate with what you spoke, Helen, and with what you're saying, Alexander. If we want to wholly give ourselves to higher purpose, but as Katya mentioned recently, we're not homogeneous beings. So what does it mean to wholly give ourselves to that and devote everything to that? And this process that Helen is describing of experiencing the parts of ourselves that aren't in resonance with our ideals, and honestly seeing them and knowing that we have to do something about them, seems like a really very important process that we need to go through. And I have two questions, but I know it's too late in the conversation for them to really be discussed, but I'll place them in anyway. One of them is, and they both relate to the will and the will to good. So in relation to the process that Helen was describing and the idea of healing and harmony that got presented, I think Tracy said that, but when we experience antipathy in ourselves, how do we convert that? What do we do with that? That's my first question. And then the second question is about the morality that's been discussed and the moral authority and have lots of questions about that. Like, how do we know that what we think is moral is the correct moral? And there's levels of morality, and rules can't create morality in people. That has to come internally from people. So my question is, where do we actually get moral impulses from? How do we connect with moral impulses? And I know there's not enough time to discuss or answer those questions, but I just feel like it's good to put them in, because that's something for us to consider, to continue pondering on and brooding on.
Maybe too quick response to this question, but it's immediately what comes, that in the biblical times that Tracy mentioned, and I agree with that, it's good to refer to biblical norms. We don't need to invent anything else. Everything is written. Don't lie, don't kill, etc. Love your neighbor. We don't need to invent anything else.
I feel that we need to invent a lot. No, we need to apprehend new ways of doing things in the world, as has been mentioned, the way that governance is working in the world, and the ways for us to do human life on all levels needs something different from what we have, and that requires creativity, understanding, knowledge, things that we are obviously not in our reach at this moment, but the process that we're going through hopefully might create them. But yeah, we didn't have AI in biblical times. We didn't have a global system of nation states, and so I think, yeah, I don't know. I think we need to understand more deeply those kinds of pronouncements that are biblical.
I guess I think in very simple terms, keep it simple, stupid kind of thing. To me, morality or anything, it's either that which creates or expresses love and that which doesn't. So to me, that tells me what's moral and what isn't. If it's something that is truly unconditional love, then it would be something that is moral. I mean, like I said, I'm just keeping it very simple. That's like just knowing, again, discernment, discerning love and what isn't love. That would be what would determine morality. And as Alexander said, do not kill and love thy neighbor and all that. But in this times of AI and that, there's good points and bad points to everything. So there's AI, but there's a good use for it and there's a bad use for it. So morally, if you're going to use AI, unfortunately, we still have that duality going, and there's some that aren't as far along the path that won't be using AI for good. They might use it for not good. But if our leaders are using it and requiring it only for good and putting it out there, again, the moral compass goes towards that which is love. So, or, expression of it. I don't know. Thanks.
I go with Tracy that it's love. What Alexander said, the quoted, I have no other life intention. When I hear that, lots of the times I sort of my body wants to burst and I just want to yell out, yay. I mean, it just fills me with a love that the life intention is to help God, to love. And I have no other life intention, and you let it filter through you, and it can get into all your little cells and soul cells and have you explode when you sort of know, as Tracy and Alexander said, the age-old story of what's good and what's bad. But there was a prayer to Shambhala that I have here. When I first heard it, it absolutely, when they talk about the darkness, it hit me in the stomach. And I asked for there was just a line they read. So she sent me the whole prayer, and I'll read it. It's not long. Thou who called me to the path of labor, accept my ableness and my desire. Accept my labor, O Lord, because by day and by night thou beholdest me. Manifest thy hand, O Lord, because great is the darkness. I follow thee. Oof, I still choke up. So when I saw the whole thing, I realized that what was so phenomenal and what choked me was that, yes, great is the darkness, but beyond the darkness is love, and that's even greater than the darkness. So love is so enormous, you can't comprehend. So we just have to tap into it. Thanks.
I agree. And I'm thinking that we are talking about love, but I'm thinking the moral compass is coming from our soul and from our spirit from on high. And the reason that we see the darkness now so grim is perhaps because humanity is getting nearer to the first initiation, where humanity is getting more soul conscious, and when we need a moral compass, the most perfect truth is the truth that is true for all people, no matter race or color or creed or country or everything. So it is more soul oriented, I would say. Thank you.
I just have to mention, because it keeps ringing in my head, that I love the story of Christ Jesus bringing his disciples together before his crucifixion and telling them that he was going to give them yet another commandment, and it would be the most important commandment. And you can imagine the human beings that were gathered around, and they'd had all these other commandments, the 10 commandments, and suddenly this was going to be the saving grace. And it was love one another. Simply that.
Let's hold us another minute or two of focused silence, recognizing the most resonant ideas as seeds that we would offer into our group chalice to be magnetized and radiated through our meditation. We bring the fire of our hearts into the group heart. We extend the light of our minds into the group mind. We recognize the fire of the group heart blending with the light of the group mind, weaving the group chalice. We focus the group intention of the common good. We visualize and therefore build the group antakarana unfolding towards the spiritual hierarchy of the planet. We heighten the group consciousness vibrations, elevating ourselves to take our position on the periphery of the great ashram of the Christ. We invoke the energy of Aries expressed through the impulse of the Aries festival 2 weeks ago. And we invoke the energy of Taurus, through which Sun is passes now, as a lens focusing this extraplanetary energy, now a planet. We hold our group chalice open and receptive to these energies. We focus our topic in the group chalice. Sharing the gift of light. Standing together in silent receptivity. Sharing the gift of light, we stand together in silent receptivity. We ask the hierarchy to guide and inspire us as we allow our thoughts to crystallize, grasping the essence of the purpose of our work throughout the past cycle. Now we are preparing to offer our seeds into the chalice with love and focused intention. Each one unmuting and speaking as you are moved to. We also honor those who choose not to speak, but who silently offer their formulated seeds into the chalice. After each vocalized offering, we will allow each seed to rest in silence for a while before the next one is offered. Let us now begin.
The moral compass from the soul.
Love one another and become the reflection of the light of the world.
We are in Christ conscious love and channel this great force throughout our world.
The will to choose love over hate through determination, no matter what.
Unity, love, and acceptance.
As a world group, we dedicate ourselves to being both magnetic and radiatory to the love which seeks to manifest.
Much love and thanks for the joy and love that you all gave today.
The World Server Group as the light of the one eye, manifesting the will to love.
I have Aramaic word coming through, Maranatha, which many Christian mystics meditate upon, and it has two simultaneous translations, come Lord, come, together with the Master is here.
my will in service to love and wisdom.
Pulling the cycle from desire to the aspiration. And raising the vibration of physical bodies so they can serve those hidden energies who will to love.
With clear determination. We keep the vision clear. Sharing the gift of light. We focus on the purpose of our work today and the seeds collected, allowing them to vibrate and resonate within the embracing light of our group chalice. We magnetize the collected seeds now with the light of Taurus as we invoke the will to good and the will to love to potentiate our group intention. we lift our group chalice, offering it to the hierarchy as our group service on behalf of the one divine plan. We turn towards humanity, radiating the light of magnetized seeds into the stream of mental substance of the human race. In support of collective evolution of humankind. Radiating through group ajna, we sound the great invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the human hearts. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of man, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the race of man, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power. Restore the plan on earth. Thank you, friends. Ahui ho. Until we meet again.
Ahui ho.